You'd let me interview you as Superman.
Miss Lane.
It's a lot. That's funny.
My actions? I stopped a war. Not maybe, I did.
In effect, you illegally entered Superman. Did you consult with the president, acting as a representative of the United States?
I wasn't representing anybody except for me.
I would question.
We're going to die.
Your choices. That's
He's not a man. He's somehow become the focal point of the entire world's conversation. Except that.
You have a dog?
What if the world's greatest superhero returned after years away, but nothing was the same anymore? To say. In this video, you'll discover hidden facts, amazing details, and the full story behind Superman 2005. So stay till the end and don't forget to subscribe to Sonu Hub for more awesome movie reviews and facts. Superman is a 2025 American superhero movie written and directed by James Gunn. It's based on the famous DC Comics hero Superman and serves as the very first movie in the brand new DC Universe DCU. The film is also a complete reboot of the Superman franchise, giving fans a fresh version of the iconic hero. David Corenswet plays Kal-El, Clark Kent and Superman, with Rachel Brosnahan, Nicholas Hoult, Eddie Gathegi, Anthony Carrigan, Nathan Fillion, and Isabella Merced joining him in major roles. In the story, Superman steps in to stop an international conflict, but things don't go the way he expected. His actions create unexpected problems, and billionaire genius Lex Luthor, played by Nicholas Hoult, takes advantage of the situation to turn the world against him. Now Superman has to earn back the public's trust while working alongside his fellow superheroes and his reporter friends. The movie was produced by James Gunn and Peter Safran under DC Studios. Work on a sequel to Man of Steel 2013 actually started back in 2014, with Henry Cavill expected to return as Superman. But after the troubled production and mixed response to Justice League 2017, those plans slowly fell apart. By 2020, the sequel was officially no longer moving forward. Around August 2022, James Gunn started developing a completely new Superman movie with a fresh direction. A couple of months later, Gunn and Peter Safran became the new co-CEOs of DC Studios. where they kicked off an entirely new shared universe called the DCU. In December 2022, Gunn officially announced that he was writing the new Superman movie. The project was first revealed with the title Superman Legacy, and in March 2023, Gunn confirmed that he would also direct it. By June 2023, David Corenswet was cast as Supermom, while Rachel Brosnahan landed the role of Lois Lane. Before filming began in early 2024, the subtitle Legacy was dropped, leaving the movie simply titled Superman. Filming kicked off in Svalbard, Norway before moving to Trilip Studios in Atlanta, Georgia, along with several real-world locations across Georgia and Ohio. Production wrapped up in July 2024. James Gunn took major inspiration from the popular comic series All-Star Superman, created by Grant Morrison and Frank Quitely, to capture the hopeful and classic spirit of the character. Superman had its world premiere at the TCL Chinese Theatre on July 7, 2025, before hitting theaters across the United States on July 11, 2025, distributed by Warner Bros. Pictures. It officially launched Chapter 1, Gods and Monsters, becoming the very first movie in the new DC universe. The film turned into a huge box office success, earning around $618.7 million worldwide, making it one of the top 10 highest grossing movies of 2025. Critics gave the movie mostly positive reviews, praising its fun action, colorful style, emotional heart, and hopeful take on Superman. While some reviewers felt the movie had too many characters and storylines packed into one film, the performances from David Corenswet, Rachel Brosnahan, and Nicholas Hoult received a lot of praise from both critics and fans. A follow-up movie titled Man of Tomorrow is already scheduled to release in 2027. On top of that, two spin-off TV series are also being developed, focusing on Jimmy Olsen, played by Skylar Gisondo, and Michael Holt, also known as Mr. Terrific, played by Eddie Gathie 30 years ago. The planet Krypton was falling apart because of a deadly war. Knowing there was no way to save their world, Jor-El and Lara sent their baby son Kal-El to Earth so he could survive. His spaceship landed in the small town of Smallville, Kansas, where he was found and adopted by Jonathan and Martha Kent. They raised him as their own son and gave him the name Clark Kent. As Clark grew up, he discovered that Earth's yellow sun gave him amazing powers, making him much stronger than any normal human. One day, he watched a recorded goodbye message from his Kryptonian parents, inspiring him to use his abilities to protect innocent people. From that moment on, he became the world's greatest hero, Superman. 3 years later, Clark is living in Metropolis, working as a reporter at the Daily Planet alongside his best friend Jimmy Olsen. He's also in a relationship with his fellow reporter Lois Lane. Even though balancing love and being Superman isn't always easy, a few weeks after Superman stops Boravia from invading another country, the US, government starts getting nervous about just how powerful he really is. They begin to wonder if anyone should have that much power. At the same time, billionaire genius Lex Luthor publicly claims that if Superman ever became a threat, he could take him down himself. Lex secretly controls a powerful armored warrior known as the Hammer of Boravia, and he sends it to fight Superman. After a brutal battle, Superman is badly weakened and retreats to his Fortress of Solitude in Antarctica to recover by absorbing energy from the sun. Lex has always hated Superman because he believes the hero steals all the attention and makes him look unimportant. Teaming up with the engineer, Lex breaks into the Fortress of Solitude, steals the final message left by Superman's Kryptonian parents, and even kidnaps Superman's superpowered dog, Krypto Loader. Superman teams up with Green Lantern, Mr. Terrific, and Hawkgirl to distract Lex while trying to stop his latest plan. During the chaos, Lex finally gets access to the full Kryptonian message. Superman is shocked to hear a hidden part of the recording that he had never seen before. In that missing section, his birth parents appear to encourage him to rule over Earth instead of protecting it. Lex broadcasts this message across the entire world, making people believe Superman was secretly sent to conquer humanity. Public opinion quickly turns against the Man of Steel, wanting to avoid even more panic. Superman peacefully surrenders to the government for questioning. However, government official Rick Flag Sr. secretly hands Superman over to Lex Luthor because he believes Lex can control the situation better. Lex locks Superman inside a hidden pocket dimension where several dangerous prisoners are already being held, including Krypto. Metamorpho and his young son are also trapped there. Determined to destroy Superman once and for all, Lex forces Metamorpho to help create kryptonite, the one substance capable of seriously hurting Superman. Meanwhile, Lex's girlfriend, Eve Teschmacher, starts falling for Jimmy Olsen and decides to betray Lex. She secretly tells Jimmy that Lex has been supporting Boravia behind the scenes because he hopes to receive half of Jarhanpur's land in return. Armed with this information, Lois Lane and Mr. Terrific launch a rescue mission. They free Superman, Krypto, and Metamorpho from the pocket dimension, but during their escape, the unstable dimension collapses and accidentally creates a massive black hole that begins threatening the entire planet. As the giant black hole keeps growing and moves closer to Metropolis, Boravia launches another attack. Green Lantern, Hawkgirl, and Metamorpho stay behind to battle the invading forces, while Superman faces off against the Engineer and the Hammer of Bromavia one last time. During the fight, Superman learns that the Hammer is actually one of Lex's failed attempts to clone him. Even with the world on the brink of destruction, Lex Luthor refuses to shut down the black hole because he's so obsessed with defeating Superman that he doesn't care if Metropolis is completely destroyed. The black hole starts ripping the city apart. While Superman battles his clone, Lois Lane and Mr. Terrific break into Lex's computer systems to expose his crimes and find a way to shut the black hole down. Superman finally throws his clone into the black hole, destroying it. At the same time, Lois and Mr. Terrific reveal Lex's secret plans to the entire world and successfully close the black hole, saving Earth from total destruction. With all of his crimes exposed, Lex Luthor is finally arrested. After the battle is over, Superman returns to the Fortress of Solitude to recover from his injuries. His cousin Kara Zor-El stops by to pick up her dog Krypto after his wild adventure. As Superman rests, he spends some quiet time watching old home videos of his childhood with the people who truly raised him, Jonathan and Martha Kent, reminding him that family is about love, not just where you come from. As the movie comes to an end, Superman and Krypto sit together on the moon, peacefully looking down at Earth. In the post-credit scene, Mr. Terrific is busy repairing the damaged buildings of Metropolis, while Superman jokingly teases him about not making everything look absolutely perfect, ending the movie on a fun and light-hearted note. Casting David Corenswet as Superman Clark, Kent Kal-El David Corenswet steps into the iconic red boots as Superman in James Gunn's 2025 reboot, bringing a fresh interpretation to the Last Son of Krypton. Selected after a competitive audition process that reportedly included Nicholas Hoult among other contenders, Corenswet embodies the dual identity of the mild-mannered reporter Clark Kent and the powerful alien hero, with a blend of earnest optimism and subtle vulnerability. that aligns closely with Gunn's vision for a more hopeful, character-driven DC Universe. Corenswet's casting was announced in 2023 alongside Rachel Brosnahan as Lois Lane, marking a significant shift from the previous DCEU portrayal by Henry Cavill. At the time of casting, Corenswet had built a solid resume with roles in Ryan Murphy's Hollywood on Netflix, where he showcased leading man charisma, and more recently in the disaster thriller Twisters. His performance in The Politician and We Own This City had demonstrated an ability to handle complex emotional layers, which Gunn highlighted as crucial for portraying Superman's internal conflict between his Kryptonian heritage and adopted human values. In the film, Superman must reconcile his alien origins with his life on Earth while facing threats both global and personal. Corenswet's physical preparation for the role involved intense training to capture the superhuman physique without relying solely on CGI, emphasizing practical stunts where possible. Interviews with the actor reveal his deep respect for predecessors like Christopher Reeve, whose portrayal he studied extensively for the balance of strength and humility. Corenswet has spoken about infusing the character with a sense of wonder and kindness, moving away from darker, brooding interpretations toward a hero who inspires through hope rather than fear. The actor's approach to Clark Kent involves nuanced mannerisms that distinguish the reporter persona from the superhero, slightly hunched posture, softer voice, and glasses as a deliberate shield. This duality allows for comedic and dramatic moments, particularly in interactions with the Daily Planet staff. Corenswet's chemistry with Brosnahan was praised early in production, creating believable romantic tension as Lois gradually uncovers Clark's secret. His performance reportedly includes several high-flying action sequences alongside Crypto the Superdog, adding levity and heart to the narrative. Beyond the physical demands, Corenswet delved into the character's mythology, reading classic comics and exploring themes of immigration and identity that resonate with Superman's story. This research helped him portray Kal-El's sense of otherness authentically, making the hero's compassion feel earned rather than obligatory. Production notes indicate Corenswet performed many wire work and green screen sequences himself, pushing his limits to deliver authentic heroism. His commitment extended to voice modulation for the suit's imposing presence versus Clark's everyday tone. Corenswet's Superman also interacts with a new generation of DC heroes, positioning him as a mentor figure within the emerging universe. Scenes involving the Justice Gang or similar team-ups highlight his leadership qualities portrayed with quiet authority rather than bombast. Critics who attended early screenings noted Corenswet's ability to convey immense power restrained by moral integrity, a hallmark of the best Superman portrayals. His background in theater and classical training contributes to the gravitas needed for speeches about truth, justice, and the American way, updated for a contemporary audience. The casting choice reflects Gunn's preference for actors who can carry emotional weight alongside spectacle. Corenswet's relative newcomer status to blockbuster leads allows for a blank slate appeal, letting audiences discover the character anew. His Midwestern roots reportedly helped in authentically capturing Clark's Smallville upbringing, adding authenticity to farm scenes with Ma and Pa Kent, played by Neva Howell and Pruitt Taylor Vince. These familial moments ground the epic story in relatable humanity. Throughout filming, Corenswet maintained a positive set presence, fostering camaraderie among the ensemble cast. His preparation included not just physical regimens but also philosophical discussions with Gunn about what makes Superman special, in a world full of flawed heroes. This thoughtful approach translates to a performance that feels both timeless and timely, addressing modern issues through the lens of an unwavering idealist. Rachel Brosnahan as Lois Lane. Rachel Brosnahan's selection as Lois Lane brings Emmy-winning depth and sharp wit to one of journalism's most iconic characters. Known primarily for her transformative role as Miriam Midge Maisel in The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, Brosnahan infuses Lois with intelligence, tenacity, and vulnerability that elevates her beyond the traditional damsel or love interest archetype. Her chemistry with Corenswet was a key factor in finalizing the casting, creating a dynamic partnership that drives much of the film's emotional core. Brosnahan's Lois is a driven Daily Planet reporter skeptical of authority figures, including the enigmatic Superman. The script positions her as someone who needs convincing about a relationship with Clark, adding layers of professional ethics and personal growth. This interpretation draws from classic Lois traits: fearless investigator, quick with a quip, while incorporating contemporary elements of career ambition in a male-dominated field. Brosnahan prepared by studying previous portrayals by Margot Kidder and Amy Adams, adapting their strengths to her own style. Her performance shines in investigative sequences where Lois pieces together clues about Superman's identity and larger conspiracies involving Lex Luthor. Brosnahan's ability to convey determination mixed with moments of doubt makes Lois a fully realized partner rather than a supporting player. Production anecdotes highlight her improvisational skills, contributing to natural banter that lightens tense moments. Brosnahan's background in theater and dramatic roles equipped her for the emotional range required from high-stakes action to intimate scenes explore trust and love. She has discussed the responsibility of portraying a character who represents journalistic integrity, especially relevant in today's media landscape. Her Lois challenges Superman's methods while ultimately becoming his strongest ally, creating compelling conflict and resolution arcs. Interactions with the supporting cast, including Wendell Pierce as Perry White and Skylar Gisondo as Jimmy Olsen, established the Daily Planet as a vibrant newsroom environment. Brosnahan's energy helps anchor these ensemble scenes, blending humor and drama seamlessly. Her commitment extended to learning basic self-defense for action sequences where Lois holds her own. The actress's fashion choices for the role, blending professional attire with practical elements for fieldwork, reflect Lois's no-nonsense personality. Brosnahan has emphasized in interviews the importance of authenticity in depicting a modern working woman who balances personal life with professional drive. This portrayal avoids stereotypes, presenting Lois as Superman's equal in intellect and courage. Nicholas Hoult as Lex Luthor. Nicholas Hoult delivers a complex, multifaceted Lex Luthor, evolving the character from previous iterations into a tech billionaire whose intellect and insecurity fuel his antagonism toward Superman. Hoult, who auditioned for Superman before landing the villain role, brings a controlled intensity that contrasts with Corenswet's earnest heroism, creating electric on-screen tension. Hall drew inspiration from Gene Hackman's charismatic take and elements from Smallville's portrayal, crafting a Lex who is calculating, eloquent, and deeply threatened by Superman's existence. As CEO of Luthor Corp, this Lex uses wealth, technology, and manipulation rather than overt brute force, positioning him as a formidable ideological opponent. His performances explores themes of human ambition versus alien benevolence, with layers of vulnerability that make him more than a one-dimensional foe. Hoult's preparation involved extensive research into brilliant but flawed historical figures, informing Lex's worldview. Scenes showcasing Lex's oratory skills and strategic mind highlight Howell's theatrical range previously seen in roles like in The Favorite and X-Men films. His Lex is both charming in public and ruthless privately, adding psychological depth. The dynamic with Corenswet emphasizes philosophical clashes, with Lex viewing Superman as a danger to humanity's self-determination. Howell's physical transformation for armored or tactical sequences complements his intellectual portrayal, blending brains and brawn. Early reviews praised the actor for making Lex feel contemporary with motivations tied to real-world tech mogul archetypes. Howell's commitment to the role included voice coaching for authoritative delivery and collaboration with Gunn on dialogue that reveals Lex's insecurities. This version avoids campiness, opting for a grounded menace that elevates the stakes. His interactions with other cast members, particularly in confrontational scenes, showcase impeccable timing and presence. Supporting heroes and villains Edie Gathegi portrays Michael Hoult, Mr. Terrific, bringing intellectual prowess and athleticism to the genius, inventor, and athlete. Gathegi's background in dramatic roles allows for a portrayal that balances competence with team player dynamics, making Mr. Terrific a valuable ally in Superman's circle. His T-Sphere technology features prominently in action set pieces, showcasing practical and digital effects synergy. Anthony Carrigan as Rex Mason Metamorpho adds levity and visual spectacle. Carrigan, known for his work in Barry, infuses Metamorpho with humor and pathos, particularly regarding his transformative powers and outsider status. This casting choice highlights Gunn's knack for elevating lesser-known characters through strong performances. Nathan Fillion's Guy Gardner Green Lantern delivers the cocky, abrasive personality fans expect from the Lantern Corps member. Fillion's long history with Gunn, including in the Suicide Squad, ensures a comfortable fit, bringing charisma and comic relief. His ring-powered sequences are among the film's visual highlights. Isabella Merced as Kendra Soder's Hawk Girl combines warrior ferocity with emotional depth. Merced's rising star power adds energy to fight choreography, while her character's ancient reincarnation lore provides narrative richness. Her chemistry with the ensemble strengthens the heroic community. Maria Gabriela de Faria as Angela Spica. The engineer represents advanced technology with moral complexity. Her performance explores themes of humanity augmented by science, paralleling broader story questions about power and responsibility. Frank Grillo as Rick Flag Sr. connects to the wider DC universe, bringing gritty authority from his Suicide Squad experience. His military background informs a no-nonsense approach that contrasts with the super-powered team. Daily Planet ensemble Wendell Pierce as Perry White commands the newsroom with seasoned gravitas. Pierce's theater and television experience lends authenticity to the editor-in-chief role, delivering memorable lines that drive journalistic subplots. Skylar Gisondo as Jimmy Olsen captures the enthusiastic, tech-savvy photographer with youthful charm. His interactions with Brosnahan and Corenswet provide lighter moments amid escalating conflicts. Sarah Sampaio as Eve Teschmacher adds intrigue, potentially exploring classic loyalties and betrayals associated with the character. Her modeling background informs a stylish, confident screen presence. Kryptonian and Kent family Bradley Cooper voices Jor-El, providing paternal wisdom and scientific insight through recorded messages or holographic appearances. Cooper's involvement adds star power and emotional weight to Superman's origins. Preet Taylor wins and Neva Howell as Pa and Ma Kent offer grounded, heartfelt support. Their performances anchor Clark's human side, delivering wisdom and unconditional love in key farm sequences. Alan Tudyk as Gary, possibly a robotic or AI companion element, brings his signature quirky humor consistent with previous Gunn collaborations. Grace Chan as Superman Robot S12 extends this mechanical support network. Broader casting impact and ensemble dynamics. The casting for Superman 2025 reflects a deliberate strategy to build an interconnected universe with diverse talents. James Gunn's involvement as director and co-writer ensured choices prioritized acting ability and fit within his tonal vision, optimistic, character-focused, yet action-packed. The ensemble's collective experience spans indie dramas, prestige television, and blockbusters, creating rich on-set chemistry. Corenswet and Brosnahan's central pairing sets the emotional foundation, while Hoult's Luthor provides compelling opposition. Supporting heroes like Mr. Terrific, Metamorpho, Guy Gardner, and Hawkgirl expand the world without overwhelming the core story, each actor bringing unique flavors. Lesser roles, from Daily Planet staff to Kryptonian figures, receive thoughtful casting that enhances authenticity. Production challenges, including balancing multiple character arcs, were met with strong ensemble performances. Gunn's history of elevating character actors shines through, turning potential cameos into memorable contributions. The casting process involved extensive chemistry reads and table reads, fostering a collaborative atmosphere evident in the final product. Diversity in the cast mirrors modern storytelling, with actors from varied backgrounds, enriching representations of heroism and villainy. Physical training regimens unified the team for cohesive action sequences, while individual character workshops delved into motivations and backstories. This holistic approach results in a tapestry where every performer contributes meaningfully to the narrative. Technical and performance highlights. Many actors perform substantial practical work alongside VFX enhancements. Corenswet's flight sequences combined wire work, practical jumps, and digital augmentation for fluidity. Hoult's Lex utilized practical prosthetics or suits in certain confrontations, grounding the tech genius persona. Supporting heroes trained extensively in combat choreography tailored to their powers. Voice performances, including Cooper's Jor-El, integrate seamlessly with visual elements. Cameos and smaller roles, such as those by Guardians of the Galaxy alumni, add fan service without disrupting flow. The casting extends to creature and robot designs, with performers like Tudyk providing motion reference or voice work. Critical reception of the performances emphasizes how the cast elevates the material. Corenswet's sincerity, Brosnahan's fire, Howell's menace, and the supporting players' commitment create an engaging ensemble that serves both spectacle and substance. This casting strategy positions Superman 2025 as a launchpad for future DC stories, with actors signed for potential multi-film arcs. The decision to cast actors capable of both dramatic and comedic beats aligns with Gunn's style seen in previous works. Improvisation was encouraged in rehearsals, leading to organic moments that enhance relationships, particularly within the Daily Planet and among the heroes. This flexibility showcases the cast's versatility and trust in the director's vision, legacy, and comparisons. Comparing to past casts, Corenswet joins Reeve, Routh, and Cavill with a distinct hopeful energy. Brosnahan follows Kidder, Bosworth, and Adams with contemporary edge. Hoult's Lex builds on Hackman's Spacey, and Eisenberg by emphasizing psychological complexity. These evolutions refresh familiar dynamics for new audiences while honoring comic traditions. The ensemble approach echoes successful team films, distributing heroic moments across characters. This not only showcases individual talents but creates a believable superhero community. Casting unknowns in key supporting roles alongside established names balances star power with discovery. Fan reactions to announcements were largely positive, with excitement building around chemistry tests and set photos. The cast's social media presence and interviews helped generate buzz, emphasizing themes of hope and unity central to the film. In-depth character studies reveal how each actor internalized their role. Corenswet focused on empathy, Brosnahan on integrity, Hoult on intellect, and others on specific power-themed struggles. This dedication results in portrayals that feel lived in and authentic, contributing to the film's emotional resonance. The casting success lies in its alignment with story needs: heroes who feel human, a villain who challenges ideals, and a supporting cast that populates a vibrant world. Gunn's hands-on approach ensured every choice served the narrative, creating a cohesive ensemble poised for franchise expansion. Expanding further on David Corenswet's journey to the role, the actor underwent multiple auditions, emphasizing not just physicality but emotional authenticity. His ability to convey quiet strength during screen tests impressed Gunn, who sought someone who could portray Superman as an aspirational figure without seeming unattainable. Corenswet's preparation included months of strength training, flight simulation practice, and dialect coaching to perfect the dual personas. His interviews reveal a profound appreciation for the character's cultural impact, motivating him to honor the legacy while making it his own. Rachel Brosnahan's Lois benefits from her experience portraying strong, witty women. She brought journalistic research to the role, consulting real reporters for insights into high-pressure environments. Her scenes balancing skepticism with growing admiration for Superman highlight subtle acting choices, micro expressions, and body language that convey internal conflict. Brosnahan's vocal delivery, sharp and confident, defines Lois's presence in newsroom debates and field investigations. Nicholas Hoult's Lex Luthor stands out for its intellectual menace. Hoult incorporated subtle physical tics such as precise hand gestures during monologues to emphasize control. His research into AI ethics and billionaire culture informed a performance that feels prescient. Interactions with other characters reveal Lex's isolation, humanizing the villain without excusing his actions. Hoult's versatility allows seamless shifts between suave public persona and private rage. E.D. Gattigi's Mr. Terrific emphasizes intellect over flash, with athletic prowess showcased in tactical sequences. Gattigi trained in martial arts to authentically depict the character's Olympic-level abilities. His calm demeanor provides strategic counterpoints in team discussions. Anthony Carrigan's Metamorpho explores identity and transformation, drawing from the actor's personal experiences with change. His humorous delivery lightens heavier moments, while emotional scenes reveal deeper vulnerabilities tied to his powers. Nathan Fillion fully embraces production development and pre-production. Few modern blockbusters carry as tangled a development history as Superman, and understanding how the film finally came together requires tracing more than a decade of false starts, abandoned scripts, and shifting studio strategy. What eventually reached theaters in the summer of 2025 was not simply the product of one director's vision executed in a straightforward fashion. It was the end result of nearly 13 years of Warner Bros. And its various corporate incarnations wrestling with how to translate one of pop culture's oldest and most recognizable heroes into a sustainable modern franchise. The road to James Gunn's Supermom stretches back more than a decade to a period when Warner Bros. Was still trying to figure out how to build a shared cinematic universe around DC's characters. In 2012, the studio began laying plans for Man of Steel, released in 2013, hoping the Zack Snyder directed film would serve as the launching pad for what eventually became known as the DC Extended Universe (DCEU). A full slate of DC titles was unveiled in October 2014, with Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice prioritized as the follow-up once Man of Steel underperformed relative to the studio's financial expectations. Even so, executives insisted that an undated Man of Steel sequel remained in development, with Henry Cavill expected to reprise his role as Clark Kent. Snyder later revealed that early ideas for that sequel involved using the imprisoned Kryptonians from the first film as well as the villain Brainiac. Though those concepts were shelved, once work shifted to Batman v Superman. By August 2016, a Man of Steel sequel was reportedly a top priority for the studio, a claim corroborated the following month by Cavill's manager Danny Garcia. That November, Amy Adams, who had played Lois Lane in Man of Steel, confirmed that a script was being developed. Momentum appeared to build further in early 2017 when Matthew Vaughn entered preliminary talks to direct, having previously pitched an entirely different Superman trilogy with comic book writer Mark Millar before Man of Steel existed, one in which Krypton's destruction would not occur until after Superman had already grown up on the planet. That plan never came to pass, however, and the troubled production of 2017's Justice League forced Warner Bros. To reassess its entire approach to DC properties. By the end of that year, producer Charles Rowan confirmed that although story ideas for a sequel had been discussed, no script existed, and a Man of Steel follow-up was not coming anytime soon, if at all. Interest in a fresh take resurfaced ahead of the release of Mission: Impossible Fallout in mid-2018, when director Christopher McQuarrie and his star Cavill jointly pitched their own version of a new Superman film, drawing partial inspiration from the animated film. Warner Brothers declined to pursue it. Later that year, the studio approached James Gunn to write and direct a Superman movie, but Gunn was hesitant. He did not yet have a clear creative vision for such a well-known character, especially compared with his earlier work reinventing the more obscure Guardians of the Galaxy for Marvel Studios. He opted instead to make The Suicide Squad, which he later described as the easier path at the time. Around the same period, negotiations for Cavill to make a cameo appearance in Shazam collapsed over contract issues and scheduling conflicts tied to his Mission Impossible commitments. Reports circulated that Cavill was parting ways with the studio altogether, though he insisted in November 2019 that he had not given up on the role and still hoped to do it justice. At that stage, Warner Brothers was reportedly exploring other high-profile options, including J.J. Abrams, whose production company had an overall deal with Warner Media, and actor Michael B. Jordan, who had pitched a black version of the character. By May 2020. The studio had quietly abandoned the Man of Steel sequel altogether, although Cavill remained in talks for a different DC project. The search for a new direction continued into 2021, when Ta-Nehisi Coates was announced as the writer of a separate Superman film being produced by Abrams, one expected to feature a black actor in the lead role, with Jordan again mentioned as a possibility. The turning point came in April 2022 when Discovery Inc. merged with Warner Media to form Warner Bros. Discovery under CEO David Zaslav. The newly combined company set out to restructure DC Entertainment, with Zaslav openly searching for a leadership figure comparable to Marvel Studios president Kevin Feige. Executives felt DC lacked a coherent creative and brand strategy and had failed to make full use of Superman as a character. Gunn, who had spent years privately mulling over how he might someday approach the character, was brought on in late August 2022 to develop a Superman film that would not be a Man of Steel sequel and would exist independently of the DCEU. Zaslav personally spent time with Gunn as he began writing the screenplay. Cavill made one more DCEU appearance that October in a post-credits cameo in Black Adam, and for a brief window it looked as though Warner Brothers might again pursue a Cavill-led Man of Steel follow-up, with Rowan producing and the studio hunting for writers and hoping McQuarrie could direct, though his availability remained doubtful. Coates' separate project was still technically alive. Cavill's Black Adam cameo had been approved directly by film chiefs Michael De Luca and Pamela Abdy after star Dwayne Johnson lobbied for it, promoting the idea of a future Black Adam vs. Superman showdown. Cavill had signed only a one-off deal for the cameo, but received a verbal assurance that he would continue in the role, prompting him to publicly announce his intention to return as Superman and describe the Black Adam moment as a small taste of things to come, promising a more joyful take on the character going forward. Screenwriter Stephen Knight produced a script treatment around this time, reportedly built around Brainiac as the villain, but studio executives were unenthusiastic about his approach, and director Michael Bay was floated as a possible replacement. All of this became moot once Gunn and Suicide Squad producer Peter Safran were named co-chairs and co-CEOs of the newly formed DC Studios at the end of October 2022. Within a week of assuming their roles, the two had already begun mapping out an 8 to 10 year plan for a new DC universe, DCU, conceived as a soft reboot of the DCEU rather than a hard restart. By mid-November, it was publicly known that Gunn was writing a new DC film, and rumors swirled that Andy Muschietti, director of The Flash, hoped to direct a Superman project in the spirit of Richard Donner's 1978 original. Cavill, for his part, expressed a desire that any future project explore Superman's capacity to give and to love the people of Earth, and said he was eager to meet with Gunn. Those hopes evaporated later that November when work on the Man of Steel sequel formally stalled as Gunn and Safran pressed ahead with their own plans. In December 2022, Gunn confirmed Superman was one of DC Studios' top priorities and revealed he was personally writing a new Superman film centered on a younger version of the character, meaning Cavill would not be involved. There remained a chance Gunn himself might direct. The new film would skip retelling Superman's origin story altogether, focusing instead on him as a young reporter navigating relationships with characters such as Lois Lane. Gunn and Safran met with Cavill to explain the decision and floated the possibility of collaborating with him on something else down the road. DC Studios formally unveiled its new slate in January 2023, kicking off with Chapter 1, Gods and Monsters. The Superman film, then titled Supermom, Legacy, was announced as the first entry, with a release date of July 11, 2025, deliberately chosen to coincide with the birthday of Gunn's late father. Safran made clear from the outset that he wanted Gunn in the director's chair. Gunn cited the acclaimed 2005 2008 comic All-Star Superman by Grant Morrison and artist Frank Quitely as a specific touchstone for the project, along with the Superman animated shorts of the 1940s and Superman the Animated Series. Additional comic influences included Superman, Birthright, the Brainiac story arc, Superman, Ending Battle, Superman for All Seasons in, King Come, Morrison's run on Action Comics, and the classic story, Whatever Happened to the Man of Tomorrow. Gunn briefly considered using Brainiac as his antagonist before ultimately deciding to blend Silver Age comic imagery with a grounded, character-driven approach centered on Superman himself. He also pointed to the 2023 Kaiju film Godzilla -1 as an influence, both for its emotional humanity and for how it depicted a giant monster attacking a city, a dynamic echoed later in Superman's own Metropolis set pieces. Gunn was confirmed as director in March 2023, with Safran producing through his Safran company and Gunn producing through his own Troll Court Entertainment banner. Gunn admitted he had initially hesitated to direct, despite encouragement from Safran and others, until he realized that centering the story on Superman's dual heritage, his aristocratic Kryptonian birth parents and his adoptive farming parents from Smallville, Kansas, would give the film its emotional backbone, a theme that resonated with Gunn personally because of his own late father. He noted the film's tone would differ from his Guardians of the Galaxy trilogy and floated early on that Superman's dog Krypto might make an appearance. Production design, costume design, and casting all began in April 2023, with returning collaborators Beth Mickle, production design, and Judiana Makovsky, costumes, coming aboard from the Suicide Squad and Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. Filming was initially targeted for January 2024. Gunn stated he did not want the film to play as a comedy and wanted it to feel distinct from prior Superman films while still honoring what came before. He finished the first draft of the script by the end of April 2023, just ahead of the Writers Guild of America strike that began in early May, which was not expected to significantly disrupt the shoot. Casting proved to be an extensive process. Gunn said he was searching for an actor who embodied the character's humanity, kindness, and compassion, someone audiences would simply want to hug. Audition tapes for Superman, Lois Lane, and Lex Luthor were submitted by early May 2023, and Gunn began reviewing them later that month while simultaneously storyboarding the film. Around this time, Gunn watched the horror film Pearl and was struck by David Corenswet's performance. Corenswet, who had long expressed interest in playing Superman, had submitted one of the very first audition tapes Gunn reviewed. He quickly became a leading contender and was slated for a screen test by early June, alongside other candidates including Jacob Elordi, who ultimately declined to audition, Tom Brittney and Andrew Richardson, Patrick Schwarzenegger, Pearson Forde, and Jack Quaid, the voice of Superman in the animated series My Adventures with Superman, also submitted self-tapes for the role. For Lois Lane, actors including Emma Mackey, Rachel Brosnahan, Samara Weaving, and Phoebe Dynevor tested, with Dynevor emerging as one of the final contenders. Brosnahan recorded her audition tape with her husband, actor Jason Ralph, reading Superman's lines opposite her. Nicholas Hoult, who had previously been the runner-up to play Bruce Wayne in The Batman, was initially eyed for Luthor but chose to pursue Superman instead, feeling that while he could play Luthor competently, he wanted to focus his energy on the title role. Gunn, meanwhile, considered A-list actors from his own filmography for Luthor, reportedly including a conversation with Bradley Cooper, and black actors were also under consideration for the part. Casting materials used the internal codename Apex, referencing a version of the character known in the comics as Apex Luthor. Casting was also underway at this stage for a black actor to play Michael Holt, Mr. Terrific, and for an Asian or Latina actress for a role labeled Blitz. In-person screen tests took place at the Warner Bros. Lot in Burbank in mid-June 2023, with Gunn and Safran overseeing pairings of Holt and Brosnahan, Brittany and Dinevor, and Corenswet and Mackie performing as Kent and Lane. The Superman contenders then tested in costume opposite Mackie. One of Cavill's old DCEU Superman suits, already in poor shape, was used for these tests. Gunn later recalled that Brittany damaged it further and that it was ultimately torn apart by Corenswet, who proved too tall for it. Gunn edited the various test footage together for a deciding committee that included Zaslav. The casting of Corenswet as Superman and Brosnahan as Lois Lane was announced on June 27, 2023. Gunn personally called both actors to deliver the news. He had reportedly offered Corenswet the role while the actor was still filming Twisters, on the condition that he treat everyone on set with kindness and respect, an expectation Gunn said was inspired by his positive experiences working with Chris Pratt and John Cena on prior films. Casting for the rest of the ensemble followed, including members of the superhero team, The Authority, who were expected to be formally introduced in this film ahead of a separate planned Authority movie. Brothers Alexander and Bill Skarsgård were briefly shortlisted for Luthor before Gunn circled back to Hoult, who accepted the role once he recognized he was in fact better suited to playing the villain. Salary details later emerged showing Corenswet and Brosnahan each earned $750,000 for their roles, while Hoult, the production's highest paid actor, earned $2 million. All three were eligible for box office related bonuses. Gunn was paid $15 million for his directorial work, on top of his separate seven-figure salary as a DC Studios executive. On July 11, 2023, the studio announced Isabella Merced Edigathigi and Nathan Fillion as Kendra Saunders Hawkgirl, Michael Holt Meister Terrific, and Guy Gardner Green Lantern respectively. Merced had previously tested for Barbara Gordon in the unreleased DCEU film Batgirl, while Fillion, a longtime Gunn collaborator, had appeared in several of the director's earlier films and had voiced a different Green Lantern Hal Jordan in animation. Gathegi reportedly beat out more than 200 other actors for his role. Anthony Carrigan, who had expressed his own interest in playing Luthor, was instead cast as the superhero Rex Mason Metamorpho the following day. Gunn revealed he had settled on several of these actors earlier but had deliberately delayed finalizing their contracts until after Superman and Lane were cast, a decision that left very little time to complete negotiations before the SAG-AFTRA strike began on July 14, 2023. Addressing concerns that a crowded supporting cast might dilute the central story, Gunn insisted that Superman and Lane would remain the emotional core of the film and explained that the wider ensemble was being cast partly with an eye toward future DCU projects and partly because he wanted to explore how Clark Kent's relationships with colleagues and Superman's relationships with fellow heroes shaped his values and choices. Once the WGA strike ended in September 2023, filming was expected to begin sometime in early to mid 2024. That October, Jason Momoa, who had played Aquaman in the DCEU, was reported to have discussed the character Lobo for either this film or a solo project. He was eventually cast as Lobo in the separate DCU film Supergirl instead. The SAG-AFTRA strike concluded on November 9, 2023, clarifying that filming would begin in March 2024. And Gunn confirmed the film would still hit its planned July 2025 release date. Maria Gabriela de Faria was revealed around this time as Angela Spica. Hot engineer, one of the film's antagonists, and a member of the Authority. Singer Madison Beer and actor O'Shea Jackson Jr. both later confirmed they had unsuccessfully auditioned for roles. Hoult's deal for Luthor, negotiated before the strike, was finalized in November. The same month, Skylar Gisondo and Sarah Sampaio were confirmed as Jimmy Olsen and Luthor's assistant Eve Teschmacher. Respectively, Gunn noted that Gisondo, Sampaio, and De Faria had all actually been cast before the strike began, and that the roles of Mr. Terrific and Teschmacher had been especially difficult to fill, requiring extensive rounds of auditions. In December 2023, Gunn's brother Sean Gunn was cast as the billionaire Maxwell Lord for future DCU projects, a role previously played by Pedro Pascal in the DCEU's Wonder Woman 1984. At that point, it was unclear whether Lord would actually appear in this particular film. Hoult's casting as Luthor was formally confirmed, while Miriam Shore entered negotiations for an unspecified role after working with Gunn on Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. Erroneous reports at the time also suggested Pom Klementieff had a role, which Gunn later denied, along with denying that Shore had actually been cast. Gunn added that the script had been substantially finished before the writer's strike began. By January 2024, Gunn reported that sets, prosthetics, and visual effects models were underway. Costumes were nearing completion and most roles had been filled. Brosnahan remarked that the production was being made with genuine affection for the source material, since many of the cast and crew had grown up reading the comics and watching earlier Superman films. Late that January, Millie Alcock was cast as Superman's cousin Kara Zor-El Supergirl. Expect to make her debut in this film ahead of headlining her own DCU project. Alcock had auditioned and screen tested in costume on the Atlanta set earlier in the month. Pre-production work in Ohio began in early February 2024, with the Ohio Department of Development confirming that portions of the film would shoot in Cleveland and Cincinnati. The production received more than $11 million through the state's tax credit program, based on a reported $37 million spent within Ohio out of a gross production budget said to total $363.8 million. Gunn publicly disputed the accuracy of that budget figure, which, if true, would have made the film one of the most expensive superhero movies ever produced. A later, more widely cited figure placed the net production budget at $225 million once incentives and tax breaks were factored in. Also in February 2024, comedian Basim Youssef stated he had originally been cast in the film, reportedly as the leader of a fictional Middle Eastern nation, but that his role had since been cut from the script. Youssef speculated the removal might be connected to comments he had made in October 2023, criticizing the Israeli government during the Gaza war. Gunn pushed back on this account, explaining that he had discussed a role with Youssef before the writer's strike, but had never formally offered him the part, and that the character was written out after the strike ended and before Youssef made his controversial remarks. A full cast table read took place on February 22, 2024, at which Gunn revealed that Terence Rosemore, who had appeared in small roles across several of his prior films, would play Luthor's henchman Otis Berg. Around the same time, Zaslav announced filming would begin the following week, and Gunn revealed that the film's title had officially been shortened from Supermom Legacy to simply Supermom. He explained that in retrospect, writing the film had made him feel it was fundamentally about looking forward, whereas the word legacy implied looking backward. Filming the shoot itself unfolded across multiple continents and states over roughly 5 months, blending sweeping location work with extensive soundstage construction, and it stands as one of the more geographically ambitious productions in recent superhero movie history. Moving from the Arctic Circle to the American Midwest and the American South before finishing with additional pickup work back in Los Angeles and Atlanta. Principal photography began on February 29, 2024, deliberately chosen because it corresponds to Superman's birthday in the comics. The first stretch of filming took place over roughly a week in the Advendalen Valley on the Norwegian archipelago of Svalbard, used to capture scenes set at the Fortress of Solitude. Gunn chose the location for its dramatic natural landscapes and visual similarities to Antarctica, where the fortress is situated within the story. This portion of the shoot operated under the working title Genesis. Cinematographer Henry Braham, who had previously shot the two later Guardians of the Galaxy films, The Suicide Squad and The Flash, returned to lens the picture, and the entire film was captured using IMAX certified red digital cinema cameras. The shoot, delayed from its original January 2024 start by the SAG-AFTRA strike, was expected to run roughly 4 months. Practical effects were handled by Legacy Effects, which contributed character designs, prosthetic makeup, specialty suits, and animatronics. Wendell Pierce was cast as Daily Planet editor-in-chief Perry White at the start of March 2024. By March 8, filming was underway at Trilith Studios in Atlanta, Georgia, with that leg of production scheduled to run until August 2. Filming in Ohio's Cleveland and Cincinnati areas was slated to span 37 days between April 1 and August 23, and additional filming was expected in Macon, Georgia. In April, Pruitt Taylor Vince and Neva Howell joined the cast as Clark's adoptive parents, Jonathan and Martha Kent, while Beck Bennett, Michaela Hoover, and newcomer Christopher McDonald were cast in June as Daily Planet staffers, Steve Lombard, Cat Grant, and Ron Troop, respectively, Hoover having appeared in several previous Gunn films. Around this period, Corenswet and Brosnahan shot a lengthy 12-minute interview scene together over 2 days of filming, which Gunn described as accounting for roughly 10% of the entire finished film. He called their on-screen chemistry palpable. The 1940s screwball classic His Girl Friday served as a major touchstone for how the filmmakers approached the Kent Lane relationship, aiming for two characters who felt like true equals, marked by a lingering romantic tension and witty banter, reminiscent of the films of director Preston Sturges. Characters from the animated DCU series Creature Commandos were expected to cross over into the live-action film, part of Gunn and Safran's broader intention to have the same actor's voice and portray characters across both the animated and live-action sides of the DCU. Set photography confirmed that Frank Grillo was reprising his Creature Commandos role as Rick Flag. Seizure production shifted to Northeast Ohio on June 14, 2024, beginning with a shoot at Headlands Beach State Park in Mentor High. Roughly 6 weeks of filming then took place throughout Cleveland, kicking off in the city's downtown core on June 24. Locations included Ontario Street, the Cleveland Greyhound Station, Public Square, the Detroit Superior Bridge, PNC Plaza, Progressive Field, and the Cleveland Arcade. Exterior shots of the Huntington Bank building, Key Tower, and the Soldiers and Sailors Monument were captured in and around Public Square. The exterior of Cleveland's historic Leader Building doubled as the headquarters of the Daily Planet, while Key Tower stood in as the corporate offices of Stag Enterprises. Filming in Cleveland wrapped on July 16, 2024, at which point Gunn indicated only a couple of weeks of shooting remained. The production then moved to Cincinnati by July 18, filming at the Cincinnati Museum Center inside Union Terminal and within the Lytle Tunnel. Principal photography officially wrapped on July 30, 2024. In August 2024, Sean Gunn publicly confirmed his casting as Maxwell Lord. The following month, Alan Tudyk, who had voiced multiple characters on Creature Commandos, was revealed to have a role in the film, ultimately voicing the Superman robot known as 4. Comic writer Mark Waid revealed that Krypto would appear in the film, which Gunn officially confirmed that October. Gunn explained that the character's portrayal was directly inspired by his own recently adopted dog Ozu, whom he described as difficult to handle at first, adding that thinking about how much harder life would be if Ozu possessed superpowers ultimately shaped Krypto's role and reshaped the story itself. Discussing the film more broadly in April 2025, Gunn reflected on the challenge of reinventing a character many perceive as old-fashioned despite decades of prior adaptations, describing his goal of crafting a story that felt both deeply human and wildly fantastical, incorporating elements he said had never really appeared together in a Superman film before: a flying dog, a giant kaiju pocket universes, and a blend of science and sorcery reminiscent of the vintage Max Fleischer cartoons of the 1940s. Post-production with principal photography complete, the film entered a lengthy post-production phase that stretched from the late summer of 2024 through the following June, encompassing editing, sound design, scoring, and an unusually large volume of visual effects work spread across 3 major effects houses. As is common with large-scale franchise tentpoles, the filmmakers also used the post-production period to fine-tune performances and narrative pacing through additional photography, rather than relying solely on material captured during the main Georgia and Ohio shoot. Test screenings began by the start of December 2024. Shortly afterward, the production scheduled a day and a half of pickup shots in Los Angeles, which Gunn characterized as an effort to enhance the finished film rather than reshoot existing material. Millie Alcock's appearance in the film was formally confirmed in January 2025. Additional pickup photography, roughly 3 more days, took place in Atlanta by the end of May 2025, and Gunn announced the film had achieved picture lock on June 5, 2025. Later that month, it was confirmed that Michael Rooker and Pom Klementieff had voiced 2 more of the Superman robots, joining Bradley Cooper and Angela Sarafian, who voiced Superman's Kryptonian parents Jor-El and Lara Lorvan. Editors William Hoy and Craig Alpert co-edited the finished film, having previously worked respectively on The Batman and Blue Beetle. Much of the visual effects team from Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 returned for Superman, including visual effects supervisor Stefan Serretti. Visual effects work was divided among 3 major studios: Framestore, Industrial Light and Magic, ILM, and Weta FX. The finished film contains 1,766 visual effects shots in total. Framestore created the digital crypto asset and shared it with both ILM and Weta. Since all 3 studios needed to deliver shots featuring the character, Framestore also handled the Fortress of Solitude sequences. ILM scanned a practical physically built version of the villain known as the Hammer of Boravia, constructed by Legacy FX, and used those scans to build a full CG version for the film's action sequences. ILM also constructed the digital city of Metropolis, using New York City as a reference point for scale, architectural style, and density, while incorporating footage shot on location in Cleveland into the finished cityscape. Veta FX built the giant kaiju creature that attacks Metropolis and reused ILM's Metropolis City asset for the climactic monster battle. To support especially complex camera moves that could not be captured practically with drones, the visual effects team built an entirely digital recreation of Cleveland's public square, which Veta used for shots requiring extensive camera choreography. And the team was also responsible for all of the kaiju's physical interactions with the city environment throughout the sequence. Music played an unusually prominent role in shaping the film's public identity even before a single frame had been shown to audiences, with Gunn treating the score and particularly its connection to prior Superman films as a central storytelling tool rather than a purely technical afterthought. As early as December 2023, Gunn indicated that most of the film's score and its major musical themes had already been composed, though he had not yet publicly named the composer because contract negotiations were still ongoing. That changed in February 2024 when he confirmed John Murphy would compose the score, continuing a collaboration that included The Suicide Squad, The Guardians of the Galaxy Holiday Special, and Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. In December 2024, Gunn confirmed that Murphy's score would incorporate a reworked version of John Williams's iconic Superman March, originally composed for the 1978 Superman film. Gunn has repeatedly described Williams's original score as among the greatest ever written for a film, and said he had associated that specific theme with the character from the very earliest stages of the project's development, viewing its inclusion as a deliberate way of paying tribute to earlier iterations of the character while still forging something new. Unlike many of Gunn's prior films, which have often leaned heavily on curated soundtracks of licensed pop and rock songs, as in the Guardians of the Galaxy series, Superman features only 2 licensed songs on its soundtrack: Punk Rocker by Teddy Bears featuring Iggy Pop and 5 Years Time by Noah and the Whale. In April 2025, composer David Fleming was revealed to be contributing additional music and sharing scoring credit alongside Murphy. The soundtrack also includes a novelty piece titled The Mighty Crabjoy's Theme, performed by producer Peter Safran's daughter Lou Safran, together with the American rock band Foxy Shazam, featuring vocals from Lou and band member Eric Nally. The song was written by Gunn and Nally. Reschler's theatrical The marketing campaign behind Superman was unusually long, extending across more than 2.5 years from the character's earliest teased announcement in January 2023 through the film's eventual release in July 2025, and it grew progressively more elaborate as the release date approached, eventually encompassing everything from Super Bowl programming tie-ins to large-scale public sculpture installations. Marketing for the film began well before production wrapped. For the January 2023 slate announcement, Gunn used the cover art of All-Star Superman's first issue to represent the still unmade projectee, and he posted the same image again in March when confirming that he would direct. When filming began in late February 2024, Gunn marked the occasion by sharing an image of Superman's classic logo which some commentators noted bore a visual resemblance to the character's costume design in The Kingdom Come comic, albeit rendered in the character's traditional red and yellow color scheme. Safran promoted the project on stage during Warner Bros. CinemaCon presentation that April with Gunn, Corenswet and Brosnahan appearing via pre-recorded video messages. The panel revealed a full look at the film's Superman emblem, and Gunn announced plans to attend the following year's CinemaCon person alongside the cast to help kick off what he called a Summer of Superman. A first look image of Corenswet in the Superman costume was released in early May 2024, depicting the hero suiting up while an alien looking threat loomed in the background. Much of the online commentary focused on the return of the character's traditional red briefs, a design element that had been notably absent from the Man of Steel costume, while other elements of the suit drew comparisons to artist Jim Lee's redesign used for DC Comics' 2011 New 52 relaunch. The pose and background threat also fueled early fan speculation about the film's plot and antagonists. Later that month, Warner Bros. Built a display inspired by the Fortress of Solitude for its booth at the Licensing Expo trade show in Las Vegas in October 2024, timed to adopt a shelter dog month. Gunn released the first official image of Crypto alongside Corenswet's Superman. A motion poster followed on December 16, featuring a slowed down, more contemplative rendition of John Williams' Superman March, opened with an electric guitar. Variety writer Jordan Morrow described the poster as an homage to Christopher Reeve's performance in the 1978 film, but set to quieter, more reflective music. A teaser trailer debuted at a press screening that same day, ahead of its public release on December 19. Within its first 24 hours online, the trailer racked up more than 250 million global views, making it the most viewed and most discussed trailer for any DC Comics or Warner Brothers film released within that time frame. Water Tower Music released Murphy's trailer music the same day as a standalone single titled Theme from Superman trailer version. The film received an unusual marketing boost in February 2025 when Animal Planet's Puppy Bowl Enki 1, airing on Super Bowl Sunday, was co-sponsored by the movie. Gunn and his dog Ozu appeared to introduce new footage from the film, and organizers presented one of the competing puppies with a specially created Crypto Super Play Award. Later that month, DC Studios brought on Ricky Strauss, a former marketing executive at Apple TV Plus and Disney, to consult on the film's marketing campaign following the departure of Warner Bros. As global marketing chief the previous month, Safran said Zaslav had rallied the entire company behind the release in a manner reminiscent of the studio's promotional push behind 2023's Barbie. Gunn, Corenswet, Brosnahan and Hoult appeared together at Warner Bros. CinemaCon panel in April 2025, unveiling both an extended footage sequence and new behind-the-scenes material. The extended footage was subsequently released online and screened ahead of IMAX showings of a Minecraft movie, while the behind-the-scenes footage was released separately on April 18, timed to the anniversary of Superman's original 1938 debut in Action Comics once. Commentary on the footage tended to focus on Crypto's growing role and his bond with Superman, as well as the behind the scenes, glimpses of the film's hopeful tone, elaborate sets and costume work that May. DC Comics partnered with the dog treat brand Milkbone on a promotional tie-in comic Supermom, A Friendship Unleashed, centered on Superman and Crypto, which cross-promoted both the film and Milkbone's products and was later distributed at that summer's San Diego Comic-Con. An official trailer arrived on May 14, 2025. Bleeding Cool's Ray Fluke called it a banger and praised its balance of action, humor, and supporting characters, arguing it proved the character was in capable hands with Gunn's take and calling it the Superman story audiences needed. IGN's Wesley Yinpool focused on the dynamic between Kent and Lane, while Polygon's Michael McWhirter highlighted the trailer's interview sequence, which raised pointed questions about the ethics of Superman intervening in a foreign war and whether his actions reflected genuine American values. A prequel junior novel, Supermom, Welcome to Metropolis, arrived in early June 2025, exploring the early careers of Clark and Lois at the Daily Planet, introducing the Justice Gang and featuring the villain Metallo. A final trailer followed on June 11, 1 month ahead of release. Gizmodo's Germain Lucier called it the most revealing trailer yet and singled out its visual effects, action choreography, and portrayal of Luthor's deep-seated hatred for Superman. Total Films' George Marston speculated, based on the footage, that Superman would end up both allied with and at odds with members of the Justice Gang, while MovieWeb's Ernesto Valenzuela praised the trailer's structural choice to have Luthor's opening monologue ultimately give way to Superman's optimism. The first 30 minutes of the finished film screened publicly at Cine Europe in Barcelona on June 17, 2025, and again in Manila on June 19, marking the start of a Superman World Tour that ultimately visited 7 major international cities ahead of release. Nylon Manila's Veda Luna Zabala described the footage as fun, colorful, and hopeful and praised Hall's performance in particular. On July 1, an 11-foot-tall Superman statue model on Corenswet was suspended atop the Shard in London as part of a look-up promotional stunt. Organizers described it as the largest public sculpture ever displayed in the United Kingdom, noting it had taken 4 months to construct. 25 pop-up Daily Planet newsstand kiosks were also installed at various locations around London, and Warner Brothers hosted a dedicated fan event at Cineworld Leicester Square on July 2. The film partnered with Fandango and Amazon Prime to offer early theatrical access screenings on July 8, which went on to become Fandango's best-selling first-day presale of the year, surpassing even the general presale numbers for Marvel's The Fantastic Four. First Steps, which opened later that same month in an unusual cross-promotional tie-in, the Lola Cars Formula E racing team ran a special Superman-branded livery for the 2025 Berlin E-Prix, while Funko and McFarlane Toys both prepared lines of action figures based on the film. Estimates of the total marketing spend varied. The Hollywood Reporter suggested DC Studios and Warner Bros. Could spend roughly $200 million on marketing, bringing the combined production and marketing total to around $400 million, while Variety separately reported the marketing budget at closer to $125 million. The film's release arrived during a politically charged moment in the United States amid mass deportations carried out under the second presidency of Donald Trump. Speaking publicly ahead of the release, Gunn described Superman as, at his core, the story of America, an immigrant who came from elsewhere and helped populate the country, and said the film was primarily about basic human kindness as a value he felt society had lost sight of. The remarks drew backlash from some Trump supporters and figures associated with the MAGA movement, with certain commentators on Fox News labeling the film super woke. Gunn responded by insisting the film was made for everyone, framing its themes of kindness as something with universal appeal rather than a partisan message. Superman had its official premiere at the TCL Chinese Theatre in Hollywood on July 7, 2025. It opened theatrically in most international markets on July 9 and in the United States and China on July 11, 2025, playing in IMAX, Real D3D, Dolby Cinema, Screen X, and 4DX formats ahead of the release in January 2025. The estate of Superman co-creator Joe Shuster filed a lawsuit against Warner Bros. Discovery, arguing that international distribution rights for the film had reverted to the estate in certain territories under local copyright law, specifically the United Kingdom, Ireland, and Australia as of 2017 and Canada as of 2021. 2 months later, WBD filed a motion to dismiss the suit, citing the long history of similar copyright challenges brought by Superman's creators' heirs that had previously been rejected in court, and the case was dismissed in April 2025 for lack of jurisdiction. The estate refiled the lawsuit with the New York Supreme Court the following month, seeking an injunction, but that motion was denied in early June 2025, clearing the way for the film's planned international rollout to proceed as scheduled. Home media Superman became available for digital download on August 15, 2025, roughly 5 weeks after its theatrical debut, corresponding to a 35-day theatrical window. It arrived on Warner Bros. Streaming service, HBO Max, on September 19, 2025, following a 70-day theatrical window, and was released on Ultra HD Blu-ray, Standard Blu-ray, and DVD on September 23. The home media editions include deleted scenes, a making of documentary, an audio commentary track from Gunn, and a selection of behind-the-scenes featurettes. Gunn explained that the film's relatively early digital release was intentional, designed to let audiences catch up with the story before the premiere of Peacemaker's second season later that year, since that series connects directly to events in the film.